Hi, everybody. Welcome to A Few Good Movies. I'm Brendan Murphy, and as you might notice, my usual co-host, Mathew Browne, is not with us tonight, but brought along two of my friends, brought along Maddux Waller, Dillon Tillman, and we are going to be here to talk about Drag Me to Hell. Now, obviously, you two are some of my best friends.
You're a good man, Brendan.
I appreciate that, Maddux. You're a good guy as well.
I try.
Yes, sir, you do. And I knew that when spooky season was coming up, I needed to have you two on a podcast at some point because I know you both go hard in the paint for the horror movies. No one else I would rather talk about horror movies with. And I knew specifically, now we were like floating a couple ideas for what movie we would cover. And at the end of the day, I knew what movie I wanted to do at the beginning when I asked you guys. But like, I also wanted to see what you guys were doing, if you guys had any strong feelings, if you guys wanted to do, because obviously the guests. But like, I was just like, guys, we need to talk about Sam Raimi. We need to talk Drag Me to Hell. Because
absolutely,
specifically, I don't think I was ready to do Evil Dead yet. But like, Drag Me to Hell, I'm ready to go in on any day of the week.
Mm-hmm. Any Raimi.
Oh, right. 100%. Guys, I've watched like 4 to 6 movies of his this past week.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's a good week,
right?
That's the best kind of week right there. Like Sam, the man, Raimi.
Exactly. Like I think it might be like 10 days a week, but like I showed my roommate Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
As you will.
I watched Drag Me to Hell. I watched Quick and the Dead right after I watched Drag Me to Hell, and on Saturday I was texting you guys about it. I decided like, what was his last movie? And it was Oz the Great and Powerful. And I decided it's the movie he made right after this. And I was like, maybe I should watch this just to like kind of see like what made him go from Drag Me to Hell to this. And like, why is it taking him so long to make another movie after Oz the Great and Powerful? So like, that's 5 Sam Raimi movies within the month. And I'm pretty happy with it. Like, I haven't even hit the big ones yet. Like, since I'm going through this, I haven't watched Spider-Man 1 or 2, which are my favorites personally.
Of course.
I know you guys go hard for the Evil Dead. So.
Oh,
yeah. No, Evil Dead 2 is practically within my top 5 like greatest movies ever made.
I agree.
Yeah. So like, and Sam is probably like, so little tease of what you might think when it comes to the movie. He's practically my favorite director. Like I just love his style.
Yeah.
Like his kinetic, wild style is just unreal and unmatched. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, his filmography like it is impressive, but it's also hilarious. Absolutely. Because he will literally go from like the most like Army of Darkness to like something just completely off the rails, like comedically, and I'm like, your filmography makes no sense, and that's why I love it.
Exactly. Like, it's so crazy just because you literally look, as Brendan, you said, you go from 2009 Drag Me to Hell, you go 2013 Oz Great and Powerful, like a prequel to Wizard of Oz from Drag Me to Hell, and you can watch both of those movies and you still know it's a Sam Raimi movie.
Yes.
And that's the craziest part about it. like Mila Kunis is the Wicked Witch, and
she sure is.
And sure, because Sam Raimi wanted it.
yeah, Sam Raimi wanted. And normally I'd be like, why the hell would you cast Mila Kunis to play that role? Sam Raimi picture, I'd be like, hell yeah, I want to watch that because it's a Sam Raimi picture. Yeah. And you know, Sam really is the man. And my only complaint with him is his ghost pictures thing, he produces so many horror films, and while that is great, I think he gets distracted by producing all these horror films that he doesn't get back in the chair.
Absolutely.
And it's like every 10 years we get like it's been past 10 years since he's made a horror film. Like this is obviously his last horror film. And he was going to get back in the director's chair, but then Marvel called. And looks like I think his like Castaway horror film that he said that he was going to direct has been like put on hold for
like indefinitely, right?
Definitely for like Doctor Strange too. So that kind of that's me and Maddux are That's where we're not the craziest Marvel people. So we're a little hurt by that, and my fear is that project will just get passed on to someone else now, and we won't get the Sam Raimi directed film because don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm probably gonna like Doctor Strange too because it's a Sam Raimi picture, but I can't help but be like, we would have had a Castaway horror film from Sam Raimi.
Absolutely. Because now, here's the thing with me. I'm in that little like double-edged sword area where it's like, obviously I love Sam Raimi and I love his horror movies, but like still the thing I remember him most for is Spider-Man. And like that's the man who introduced me to superheroes and everything like that. So like when I hear Sam Raimi is directing a Doctor Strange movie and it looks like the Doctor Strange movie is just like a pathway so he can like make another Spider-Man movie, like
it is looking that way.
It looks that way,
especially with the way Spider-Man 3 is looking out to turn out. So
it's like I agree with you. Like the thing for me is at the end of the day, if I get a Sam Raimi movie, I'm happy, whether it's a horror or anything like that. But I do agree with you to an extent. Like, guys, when he's in this zone, he's insane. Like, it's no one does horror movies like him. I can't think of. I mean, no one makes movies like him. Period. But like, I feel like, especially in this age of horror movies, where, and I love these movies. Not saying anything about it. Like, I feel like there's a tendency to take it a little too seriously. Like a Hereditary or a Midsommar or anything like that. Like the movies that really get like the play and are really like hyped by the horror community are the more serious kind of thing. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. Like Ready or Not was great from 2019. Speaking of Sam Raimi producing, Crawl was great. I love that movie.
Love
so much
Crawl.
fun.
I was in the minority on that one. I thought Crawl was okay.
I mean, that's fair.
Now, I've only seen it that one time, and I hate to be the contrarian, but I only saw it once, and I was just not impressed. But
you need more PBR. You need another viewing with it. I don't think there was enough PBR in your system for Crawl.
Nectar of the gods.
Yeah. I think that's what you need to do, and you need to give it another shot because I have watched Crawl, and it is a movie that I make sure that like I have 16 White Claws ready in my fridge.
For sure.
Let's line them up. Let's get that. Yeah. So I'm set. Crawl. I love Crawl, but I think I'm glad you bring that up because one of my little notes that I kind of had written down for this is 2009 when this movie came out was we were in an odd place in horror.
Oh yeah.
We were in the time frame of horror remakes were booming. Don't get me wrong, a lot of those horror remakes like I love. Like I love Hills Have Eyes, Hills Have Eyes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, My Bloody Valentine, like so many like in your face gory like visceral brutality remakes. And also we were scared of a pale white woman and black hair. Like that was where we were in horror. And Sam Raimi was like, shit is getting out of hand. I need to get out of retirement and get back in the chair.
Exactly.
And show y'all a PG-13 horror film, by the way.
The PG-13 horror film, I would say. But
I would also agree with that. I literally think when it comes to like pinnacle PG-13 horror films, Drag Me to Hell, and then The Ring is probably like right underneath it. And like horror films that are so scary, they almost can't conceptually fit the idea that this is PG-13.
Exactly. And that's the big thing about both of those. Like Drag Me to Hell and The Ring, you watch them and you're like, there's not anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like nothing R-rated is really happening. Like there's no obligatory like topless shot, there's no like blood and gore, but there's no people swearing, but you're just so terrified that you feel like you're part of it. Like
the intensity level is at a film that you normally associate with an R rating film. And I don't mean to bash PG-13 films. They have their reason. I think PG-13 we all agree PG-13 horror films get.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there are clearly movies that get degraded and watered down for the sake of reaching a certain market, and then we'll get on our soapbox.
Story.
That's a
But
different
That's a
story.
totally different story.
Yeah, we don't look most of the time. We don't look at a movie prior to going into like, oh, it's PG-13. Like we're not those type of people. So
I'm just
we
gonna
love
watch it.
yeah. And like I remember like even when this was coming out, like people were freaking out. Sam Raimi's doing a PG-13 horror film. I'm like, y'all, this man produced like The Messengers and like all these other PG-13 horror films.
Yeah.
You know, and he's practically shown like y'all are not showing up and showing out. Let me show you how you make a PG-13 horror film.
Yeah.
And he went to the very limit because very, very limit, because clearly you can tell if you actually we're going to be talking about the theatrical version.
Yeah.
Yes, we didn't clarify that, but we all watched the theatrical version.
We all watched the theatrical version, but I've seen both versions.
Oh,
and I've seen both versions, and the director's cut really is just an additional amount of blood. Like the coloring is just brighter. They just tend it down, and like you see that like the cat scene, you actually see it die. And, the nose blood is a little bit more Evil Deadish with the extensity of it all, but ultimately, that you could see where when you watch both versions back to back, you can see where it's like the director's cut it's just slightly over into the R version, so they may just stay slightly watered down, but still great.
Exactly. It's funny that you say that too, because I actually noticed when I went to put in the Blu-ray for the theatrical version, I looked at the other disc, which had the unrated one, and the runtimes are both 99 minutes. Exactly. Like there's no difference in the runtime. So it's just like I haven't seen the unrated in forever, but just from the no difference in runtime, you get the feeling that it's like, okay, it's not even really a different movie. It's just kind of chopped up a little bit.
It's chopped up a little bit, and the only thing that's really different is the cat scene. Like in the theatrical version, the cat scene happens off camera. You hear it meow, like screech.
You just
and the unrated, you see her actually stabbing it, and the blood's just kind of splurting out, all campy like. So
enough to keep it keep it goofy, but
which honestly, I support the decision because I don't want to see her kill the cat. I really don't.
Dude, that cat was too cute. Like
the cutest. Like it's that thing where I feel like one of this movie's strengths is that Christine is still pretty sympathetic throughout most of the movie. If you see her kill the cat, that puts her down to where you're like, maybe I don't feel so bad for her anymore. Like maybe that's the last part, but yeah, and it's just back to the original point. It's just like I feel like Sam Raimi is one of the most playful directors out there, if not the most playful.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and he also knows how to scare the hell out of you at the same time, which is what I think is so great. Like we talk about, like this movie's fun, but it's also got some amazing horror set pieces that are really fun and scary. And I remember my last college paper I wrote in college was on the importance of comedy and horror and how like they're practically two sides of the same coin. And I used this as like the prime example. Like this movie does a great job at like taking comedy and it will use it as a deflate tension, and then boom, you get a jump scare, and then and that you don't see it coming because you're laughing about, the goat that just talked, You totally are not prepared for the jump scare that's coming out afterwards, and which is just great. So you have this like laugh, scream, bantering that happens with you, which just makes it for a really fun, entertaining, wild ride. Which I saw this in theaters back in 2009 when it came out, and I just remember like going berserk. And I remember we had a couple people who didn't get it in our theater, and they were like, "What? This movie has like a 90-some% on Rotten Tomatoes." Like they were like how they don't know what they're talking about. That thing made me laugh.
But like that's with any good horror movie. Like you look at, I mean, Midsommar, Hereditary, F Cinema scores across the board.
Oh yeah,
and it's just like not for everybody, but I mean, I think like a good thing to say about this movie is just like, I feel like with most horror movies, especially movies that like are a little more jump scare heavy, like I feel like you always remember, like, okay, here's what's coming up. I feel like every time I pop this movie in, I forget like 10 of them. And like, I'm still scared shitless every single time.
And I feel like that's the beauty of an earned jump scare versus one that's just, we need to remind people this is a horror movie. Quick, every time something enters the frame, we're going to go dun-dun. Like, that's not the same.
Yeah, and like what I love is like I'm a defender of jump scares. Like I want to be assaulted into the air and feel like I'm levitating. Like I love a good jump scare. I don't think jump scares are cheap. They just get oversaturated in a market because they know that teenage girls want to feel that. Exactly. You know, when they go see their Truth or Dare, you know, type of horror film. I love how Sam Raimi handles a lot of that stuff in here. And, but good Lord, this movie is just, it's bonkers. It's everything. And 2009 was a hell of a year for horror. Like, you take the time to look at what came out in 2009, you're like,
good stuff in
there was some good stuff. And even the stuff that was bad, like, don't lie that you weren't anticipating like checking it out type of like
exactly.
Like, it was stacked year for horror. You know, and like this would have been my favorite horror movie of 2009 if I hadn't seen Paranormal Activity. If that didn't come out. That's fair. Yeah, like I saw Paranormal. Yeah, that's just because that was just so fucking terrifying that like watching like the Drag Me to Hell, which is terrifying, but like I think it literally was like Drag Me to Hell was like number 2. Like they.
As it should be. They were Bunk Brothers. Like
I mean, Paranormal Activity, like the new kid on the block. Like, oh my god, okay. So now we figured out how to do found footage. We're gonna like do this all now.
But, exactly.
And killed the Saw franchise in the process.
I
don't know about killed. It's still got on its last legs. We still got a new one coming out.
But
doesn't mean we want it, but
that's fair. But
well, I happily awaited. Like Saw was like, I don't know what to say. It was like my junk food. Like I got into horror later on in life, so clearly when I got into it like right around like when Saw was really getting going. So like for me, like I was in the Saw phase. Saw to me was like my Twilight era.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like the
understandable
Twilight era. So I think fondly of those memories. I know that they are not high art.
Absolutely.
They're a ton of fun though.
They're a ton of fun, and I think they're my Twilight. You know, like I look back on them and I'm like, you know what, I had a great time with those films. Yeah.
I know we're off on like a hell of a tangent here, but
I mean, this is what I wanted. So like, I'm all in.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure we're not messing with your system.
No, you're all good. I do want to say real quick,
kill the aesthetic.
For sure. No, you're all good. I did want to say though, just to talk about, because Dillon was talking about the fine line between horror and comedy. And like we were talking about like the whole thing about jump scares and everything and how people are like anti-jump scare. I feel like it's just the same thing with a comedy. It's just like either it's a good laugh or it's a bad laugh. Either you're like looking around at everybody like you guys are like laughing at this, or like you guys are scared at this, or like something that actually works. Like it's a
I have a quote for you, and this is one of my favorite film quotes in all of history. James Wan said this when he was making Conjuring 2, and he referred to this as like why comedy is so important. He's like, you can only push audience members to a certain point. Like we say, like even as horror fans, we say that there's no limit, but technically there is a mental limit to how much that we can take before our brain starts to find an escape, you know, or something like that, and make a laugh out of it. So James Wan said, I would rather give them something to laugh at than have them laughing at something, you know, else. So and that's why comedy is so great. Because if you give audience members something to laugh at that you know they're supposed to laugh at, they're not going to laugh at the Darth Maul demon character because they're not going to spend that much time on it. Their brain's not going to spend that much time on it because like that's why like when I watch Insidious, people want to always bash the paranormal investigator team, but I always look at that like when you're riding a roller coaster and you get to that halfway point of the ride and it kind of slows down just a little bit. Before it takes off again. Like at that point, when we get to that point in Insidious, it's kind of like we're slowing down because we're getting a little bit of the laugh tracks in before we kick off and go again, because we're already scared. We were practically at that point we were supposed to have been scared shitless. Now we're getting our breather before we get scared shitless again. So therefore, you know, because our brains are our friend and also our foe when it comes to a lot of these horror films.
False sense of security is important.
For sure. I mean, especially you talk about like someone even a little more modern like Ari Aster. Like his movies are hysterical, honestly.
They are. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
it was amazing how much I laughed during Midsommar. Like that movie's fucked up.
It is.
But even you think back to like Hereditary, like I remember like the first seance they do, like you're not really like terrified. You're kind of laughing at like how like Toni Collette is just like, what the hell is happening? This old lady just kind of like, hi, like I forget what the kid's name is, like, hi Billy, it's so good to see you. You're like, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Toni Collette is like in that scene is like the important grounded character to point out how fucking crazy everyone and everything that's happening is, and that's so important.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're both genres like very much interested in like making sure the audience has a visceral physical reaction. I feel like no other genres are like tooled or designed to be that way. And yeah, I agree, Dylan. Like I think that's exactly why like they both are sides of the same coin. Like they go hand in hand so perfectly. Sam Raimi obviously like is the best at finding that balance, I feel like, for the most part. Because like once again, I watched Evil Dead 2 the other night, and man, I tried to like explain to my roommate like what Evil Dead 2 was. And I just like, it's a Looney Tunes cartoon. At the end of the day, at least that first half is like, it's literally like Bugs Bunny. Like he literally was like, oh, so this is just Tom and Jerry is what we're watching right now.
I can't say I've ever personally drawn that comparison, but that's a funny one.
Right? Well, it's just like he's trying to chase the hand, and the hand's just like not giving him an inch. And he's
my god, the scene of him going after the hand is one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema. Just period. When he first cuts it off and it goes in the rat hole and flips him off. Oh my god, I cannot not cry laughing at that.
My favorite scene in it is the mountain of blood, the unrealistic amount of blood that comes out of the walls, which is why I love one of my favorite scenes that Drag Me to Hell has is the noseblood scene, because it just feels like a little homage to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, because like she's grabbing it and then like blood is just pouring out, like just.
And after she leaves, it's her desk is covered. Her boss is covered. It's just like, this doesn't make any sense.
The dialogue in this movie is like, it's just flat out fantastic.
It's 10 out of 10.
Great, it's so many 10 out of 10 like one-liners, and that you would, and like one of my favorite like movie trivia, like possible like alternates, alter realities, like Ellen Page was originally supposed to play this role,
which is crazy.
Which is crazy because I can't deny the fact that I think she would have like fucking nailed it.
Oh yeah.
Like she would have nailed it, but I love, no disrespect to Allison, like I love what she does in this movie.
She's great.
She's great, and we talk a lot, like a lot of lists like to say directors that put their actors through hell, and you always get like Stanley Kubrick and Darren Aronofsky, but like Sam Raimi's on the list. Like he made 100%. like with what he did to Bruce Campbell in all of his movies. Like even I remember reading like Alison Lomas, like I would go home and even after showering, like there would be blood from like 3 days ago just still chilling in my ear, and stuff like that. Like he put his actors through like hell, which I can't blame Jane Levy for not wanting to come back for the new Evil Dead movie, because she's like, I love horror films, but like 3 to 4 months being in this level of state is just a lot for the body.
And considering that Evil Dead remake to this day, I believe, still holds the record for the most fake blood used on a set, because it rains at the end. It's like, I'd be mad as shit about that too if I got rained on in blood.
Rained on in blood, constantly covered in mud, constantly being belittled, buried alive, practically. Like, that does a lot to the mind. So I and I applaud Sam and the actors. Like, even though they're making a campy, ridiculous movie, they're still following the old-fashioned format of how to make a movie, and that's just fun. It's just fun to know that, like, it's kind of like it's like the pretentious self of like Christopher Nolan always never wanting to shoot on digital, like, or like Sam Raimi's like, we ain't doing CGI in my film unless we have to,
Yeah. And there are a few moments where it is there, and it's visible, but it's almost CGI'd to the point where it's goofy, which is got to be intentional.
Yes, like, I feel like it adds a charm. Like when like she sticks the arm in her mouth.
The anvil. I was gonna mention that one, and then mention the Looney Tunes because that's. The eyeballs pop out, like it's perfect Looney Tunes.
Yeah, and like normally I don't like a lot of vomit in movies, but there's something about what Sam does in this and how he like plays with once again comedy, you know, that fantastic that like this is the only movie where like vomit and like hard to the face is accepted with me, like because so much shit happens to people's faces in this movie.
It's gross.
It's like arms to them all, getting spit on by maggots, and like just oh my god. Like I was gonna ask this question. There are so many great set pieces. Like, what's everyone's favorite like set piece in this movie? Because there's so many from the car scene to the maggots on the bed to the being tossed around in the house to the seance. Like, I'm just curious, like, what's everyone's personal favorite?
My favorite would probably be the seance scene with the goat. I cannot emphasize enough the first time I saw that movie and the demon went into the goat at the wrong point in time and he says, "You bitch,
you black-hearted whore,
you're tricky black-hearted."
I cannot emphasize it. I was in tears when
absolutely
the brain goat.
How can you not be?
Yeah,
that's filmmaking right there.
It sure is. It's incredible. It is a tough one, honestly. Like, I feel like each one is so well done. It is hard to pick one. I think I might have to go with the parking garage. I love.
It is a great set piece.
Parking garage is incredible because it's one of the few times you actually just see those two go head to head.
Yeah.
And like she's actually haunting her, and like I don't know, just like they both really play off each other well. Like I feel like the actress is named let me check real quick. Lauren Raver, who plays Mrs. Ganush.
Yeah.
Who great 15-minute performance.
Fantastic.
Gets in, gets out, leaves an absolute mark that you're never gonna forget.
Oh yeah.
She goes to the mat for this movie.
Their chemistry's so good too.
It sure is. Absolutely. Yeah. But like I feel like it's definitely too like it's the most terrified I am when I'm watching the movie. Like now there's some goofy stuff in it. Like I feel like isn't that when the ruler happens? Like the ruler is some funny shit where she just sticks the ruler in her mouth and then just like she spits it out like a project. Like, but like it's when I feel like it has more of the creepy shit. Like obviously there's like the doily that's like floating around the parking garage and it's you slowly see her in the back seat. Like I love that. Like she's actually there for it. Like the Lamia throughout the rest of the movie is great too. Like I love how they use that entity. Like I love the seance. The seance is so great. Like my heart was pounding. I've seen this movie a bunch of times. Like I was still just like, this is incredible. But I feel like it's Sam Raimi just like, I don't know what the filming schedule for this was, but it's like, I'm back, motherfuckers. This is it. I'm here. Welcome back. Like
so that scene is beautifully directed. Like she's in the car and she sees a napkin flying, like the hand thingy or whatnot flying in the wind, and you get this silhouette of a woman in the back seat. You're like, oh shit, it's about to go down. And you're grinning, but you're also kind of about to poop in your pants at the same time. Like Like, yeah, it's scary. And then you're like, I beat you, you bitch. I'm like, so many great lines in this movie.
100%.
Speaking of one-liners, we've got to address the scene where she's on the way to the cemetery and she says, "I'm coming to get some." Obviously, my boy Ashy Slashy influenced.
Of course.
I love that. My favorite line is obviously when she's like in the mud and she's like, you take this, you Cynthia Garnish, choke on it, bitch.
And then like kicks her jaw closed.
And makes her swallow the damn coin.
Yeah.
You know.
See, like, that's the thing for me. It's like you bring up Ellen Page. I think Alison Lohman fucking kills it in this movie.
Oh,
like,
she does. She does. Yeah.
Can't see Ellen Page necessarily. Obviously, Ellen Page is a great actress. I mean, no disrespect, but like, I think she owns it. She owns both. I feel like also Alison Lohman. Obviously, I've seen her in other movies and stuff like that. I feel like, especially after watching Evil Dead, she's giving the same kind of performance that Bruce Campbell is giving in Evil Dead.
I agree.
Like, yeah, she's got this girl next door, lovable blonde hair. Mm-hmm. Like it's hard. You see this sweet little face.
Yeah.
Even though she's denying a woman of a bank loan, mm-hmm. you can't not like her. Like you just sympathize with her from the start. It's very love her.
And I like the her boyfriend. I can't immediately recall his name. Do you guys remember? I know Justin Long plays him, but I can't.
It is Clay.
Okay. Clay.
Basic white boy name.
Yeah. In about the first 30 minutes of the movie, I'm not a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
But I get to like him more and more towards the end. But as much as I'm not a fan of what he does and how he behaves in the first 30-ish minutes of the movie, he brings up good points. I mean, because he's kind of like the audience, working through. Mm-hmm. If it's all right, she denied this old woman her loan and she's gonna lose her house. And he's like, yeah, well, you don't pay your mortgage, you lose your house. I don't. Yeah. Does she deserve to get drugged to hell over it? No, absolutely.
No.
I mean, even Sam Raimi admits that she shouldn't have been dragged to hell. In the interview, he said nah, she was overpunished.
She deserved that shit. Yeah. No,
but I think that's why the movie works.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Even we know Sam Raimi agrees that she shouldn't have been dragged to hell. She was a nice, lovable girl. She did one thing possibly wrong, but even then you can't deny her for choosing that.
Exactly.
The girl was denied, had given two, options, and even then, you also the opening of this movie, we see a kid dragged to hell, which also is fantastic. Bring that up. Yeah, because I don't know what it is with America. We are afraid to kill children.
Nah, sure.
Kill those damn living. Kill the brat. Kill them. I want to see more children die in movies, y'all.
See, I'll tell you what. It's I think it's why it works so well in this movie because I agree. I feel like it's just this off limits thing that people don't do. Mm-hmm. But also,
it's like an unspoken it's like an unspoken thing. We can't say that. We're no, we want to see the brat get it.
For sure.
Let Satan have him.
Yeah,
let him have him.
Also, if I
wrote the Babadook, the boy would have died.
Fair.
True.
But also, I feel because of that unspoken rule, that's why that death works so well at the beginning of this movie, and I don't want to take that away.
You don't want to remove the stigma from it because the stigma is kind of what makes it oh shit.
Yeah, because we're talking about how fun this movie is. It's also pretty upsetting in a couple of ways.
Oh yeah.
Every time I watch the ending, I'm God damn it! I'm so upset every time.
I never want it to happen.
Yeah, I know it's going to happen, and I see that fucking envelope. I'm just just look a little bit more. Open the envelope.
And people want to shit talk about that. The fact that oh come on, it was. We all knew that when, I found that, that, she never checked the envelope, so clearly,
Yeah.
Sam Raimi's in it for the ride, not the surprise.
Yeah, it's just like
Exactly.
It's like, well, they could have taken the Eagles the whole time. No one gives a shit, man.
Yeah.
It works.
It works.
Sings.
I'm in it. Yeah, exactly. I'm in it for the ride, not the surprise.
Exactly.
Even when she gets dragged to hell, it still hurts. It still hurts, but it's a great fucking sequence. And
It is.
I'm still holding out hope. One of these days we might somehow, because I read his idea for Drag Me to Hell 2.
All right, so Dillon, you mentioned Drag Me to Hell 2. What's all that about?
Okay, so as we know, Sam Raimi, Evil Dead, immediately people were all like, is there going to be a sequel?
Yeah.
And Sam, like, there was this idea constantly of played around where we would follow, like, Justin Long's character, and, he was practically do like a rescue mission where he'd become like an occultist, and all that stuff, and we would actually go to hell, and try to rescue Alison Lohman's character and stuff like that. So it would be kind of it would bring back, I imagine it would bring back Army of Darkness vibes, instead of we're going into this area, we're actually going into hell, and like we're dealing with the deadites of hell, and trying to rescue Alison Lohman's character type of ordeal. But also Sam Raimi also said that like he didn't know what to do because he felt like at least with Evil Dead he had a character like Bruce Campbell was still technically physically walking, so he could always just build from that.
Exactly.
But I mean, I just want to see a Sam Raimi horror film. So like,
dude,
it doesn't have to be.
He could release like a 15-minute short film exclusively to YouTube or something, and I would pay however much for it. I just need it.
5 minutes short, $15. Boom, you got it.
You got me, Raimi.
You got me.
You son of a bitch.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the thing that's so enticing about that concept is just like, not that it's like a return to this or that it's just long or anything. It's that you get Sam Raimi's Dante's Inferno, basically.
Good
like
stuff.
That's the draw.
Yeah.
It's just like, and especially after we watched this movie, the main thing I took away from this movie after watching it this time is that Sam Raimi, and we talked about it a little earlier, loves to torture the shit out of his characters. I don't think he hates them. I think he loves them to death. But he wants to see them in pain. He wants to see them hurt. And like,
and he knows that when you have a movie titled Drag Me to Hell, you cannot not drag someone to hell.
Yeah.
He knows that like he has his 80 cult fans. They're still alive and kicking just like he is, that he needs to, and people want to see his campy cultist side. So and he had such creative freedom, which is just kind of bonkers to think that like a studio in 2009 would be like, here you go, here's money, you do what you want to do.
I mean,
exactly.
After Spider-Man,
he hadn't made a horror movie in like 10 years, so it's
true. But it's the guy who made Spider-Man, who up to that point, I feel like at least Spider-Man 2, like, were maybe like two of the like top 10 highest grossing movies of all time at that point. Like,
speaking of which, there are horror scenes in Spider-Man 2.
Absolutely there are. The hospital scene? Oh my God.
That's a podcast all its own.
It's like say what you will. Like it's like say what you will about like our favorite like horror directors turning into these big action films. They do slide. Like even even James Wan slid in a horror set piece in Aquaman, And like,
if you would have told me the dude who did the Conjuring movie would give me a like Fast and Furious movie and I'd like dig it.
One of the best Fast and Furious movies.
Exactly. It's crazy.
It's incredible. But like, even then, it's just like, yes, obviously Ash and Christine are tortured throughout the movie and they're horrible. But like, even you think about his take on Peter Parker is like, I'm going to drag this man to the ground every second I possibly can. I'm going to make sure this man's life is full of pain and suffering. And that's why you're going to love him so much, is because you're going to feel for him so bad.
And I truly think that that's, again, to go wildly off on a tangent, but I really think that that's why his Spider-Man movies work as well as they do as superhero movies too. Because I mean, it's the whole like Spider-Man 2 is like the Empire Strikes Back of the Spider-Man thing. Like Spider-Man 2, he does nothing but get his ass handed to him that whole movie until the very end, and the suit is just torn. Like it's tattered. You can visually see that he has been run through the ringer, and it's just great.
And it's not even just the stuff when he's like a superhero. Like everyone in his life who loves him is mad at him at some point in that movie. Like James Franco fucking hates him. Mary Jane hates him. Aunt May hates him for like 10 minutes. Like everybody in this movie, in that movie, is out to get that man. The man can't get hors d'oeuvres without like shit not going his way. Like the man is just, he can't deliver his pizza on time. Like nothing is going that dude's way. Like, and I think it's obviously it's on a much bigger scale, but like, I think that's just why we love his characters so much. Like, and I think it's going back to like why we feel so bad for Christine. Like, I feel like that's why she works so much as a character. Cause like, you know, it's like at the end of the day, it's just like one mistake. It's the one bad thing she does. And it's just like the way she has to pay for it is this. And it sucks.
It hurts.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely brutal, and she goes through so much even before she gets dragged to hell.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The bitch. Also, like people want to like maybe crap on the CGI, but we've talked about how we think it's a charm. In this movie, like I love that's probably my favorite scene is outside, obviously the seance scene because the talking goat is just cinematic gold and cinema peak. I love the scene where she gets dragged. By the house and everything's flying around because it's just like a classic haunted house. Like he plays on like so many stereotypes. Like here's like a classic haunted house where like the ghost is moving through the curtains or like you see the shadowy figure. And I love that scene where she gets dragged because the shadow hands morph underneath the floorboard and then he runs
and
to
she
the window.
runs from them.
Yeah,
like,
and she
it's just a shadow. But like we know like it's just that scary. But like
but what I love is they use like an old-fashioned like what looks like a practical monster to be the one time you really see the Lamiac when it busts through the window. And I love that he like gave it like a werewolf like glowing yellow eyes and all that stuff. So and I love when people get tossed in movies. It's like a hard trope that still fills me with joy. Like a good old fashioned drag across the floorboard. Just clap, it gets me. Clap. It gets me. It gets me. It's like a good old fashioned chase sequence. It's like I love a chase. I love a drag. You know, just keep giving them to me because I'll keep coming to them. Like
Which. I do want to talk about that one scene where we do actually see the Lamia. That's one of the ones I forget every time. It's just like, oh, we never see the Lamia. What are you talking about? Then I see him like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Like every
I'm right
time.
there with you, man. I forget it. I forget we see him. Like,
you see him and he's this big hairy ass beast. And you know, and I love that. I think that's why, like, outside of the seance, like, that scene where she gets dragged is probably my favorite is because you see the Lamia for just that one moment. And I know our pretentious hearts be like, we don't want to see the monster. But it works because you know that shit is practical and it's old school Sam Raimi working at it. And I fucking love it. And, like, when she gets tossed into the, like, the wardrobe closet or whatnot. And the room is just like in shambles. I love it. I fucking love it. It's great.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think I want to talk about the Lamia a little bit himself because like he's such a great presence in this movie.
I agree.
Like you feel him throughout it. I love just like the shadow of him immediately. Like you're just like, oh, okay, so I get it now. Like this is the devil incarnate. I'm great. Like this is awesome.
Even the sound of the hooves when they're like stomping around, like
so good.
When that scene you were just talking about, Dylan, where the hands come under the door, the shadow, when he first steps and it's just dun, 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 you see the hooves and you hear that heavy. It's scary.
It is. And just prior to that, you have this awesome sequence where she sees it like the shadowy, like in the windows and stuff like that. She's bolting upstairs and she's being chased by shadows. And I just think it's such a fun set piece, you know. You know, we've seen these in like old like 50s, 60s horror films, you know, with the shadows and
of course,
because that's all that they had and stuff like that.
It's a trope for a reason.
Yeah, and I just love how Sam Raimi takes that, adds a little fun, campy vibe on it. Still manages to be scary because also the cell phone jump scare. I love it. When she's like, where the cell phone battery dies and then you just get the like.
Yeah,
Sam
it makes no sense, but it works.
It's fucking awesome.
It works because Sam Raimi knows that if he can put a jump scare, if he can make a moment happen, he's gonna fill every scene with something.
Yep.
Like even in that scene, you've got the baby hang on poster.
Yeah, the cat.
Yes.
The cat. Like the man is constantly feeling every scene with something while also doing this cool little dance with the camera. You know, that's why he's like probably arguably my favorite filmmaker working, because he generally feels like I can feel him having fun.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'm having fun watching him try scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah. He's not having fun in just like an inside jokey kind of way either.
No.
Like he's just constantly looking. I feel like I can just see him on set, like looking at where they're shooting the camera and going, what can I do here? What can I do here? What can I do here? Just constantly reevaluating.
And I could just see him being like, man, you know what? Fuck the dolly. Just start running with the camera, you know?
Exactly. We don't need it. Like,
we don't need
this man booked through a swamp in the 80s. Like, you think in 2009 he's gonna go through all that trouble? No.
No. And that's what I love about it. No, it's just this movie. I watched, like, if there's one movie that like I would say that I know verbatim, word for word, it's this fucking film. In 2009, I watched this movie more than any movie that, like, even though Paranormal Activity was my favorite thing, I was so terrified of that movie, I had to distance myself. I watched this thing on a loop, and I like so many so the entire movie I could read it with my eyes closed. I could probably say it backwards. I fucking love this movie.
It's a good one.
It ranks really high if I was to rate every Raimi film. Like, it would be like insanely high. Yeah.
And again, like, you don't even consider the fact in that ranking that it's PG-13. It's just a Raimi movie. Like,
I thought it was R before we did it again, honestly.
Really?
No. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, it's just because, like, I just don't pay attention as much to that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't see it back in theaters when it was like a thing, and I wasn't like having to like worry like, is it going to be R-rated? Am I going to be able to see it in the theater? So it's just like something I'm just like, oh yeah, Sam Raimi, he made another like big horror movie, and it's rated R, because I obviously remember like how gross it is, like how scary it is, and I was just like, yeah, it's rated R. And then I'm like, no, I'm like blindsided by it every time. Like, I love how, like, obviously it's a movie I love from him. I think it's incredible. Like, I love it's not one that, like, Dillon, like, I remember every second of, because I feel like I'm surprised each time I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I always pick up new shit. I always am, like, surprised by new shit. Like, especially this time, I was really into the fact, because we were just talking about Raimi and everything like that. Like, I feel like his presence is felt in this movie more than any movie that's like ever been made by like an auteur or anything. Like, I feel him in this movie in every single shot. Like, he's just there.
Absolutely.
Like, I honestly feel like he's maybe the Lamia at a certain point. Like, it's like, I feel like I'm like sitting next to him and he's like laughing and screaming next to me. Like, I agree. It's like, there's none of that like wink, nudge, nudge shit to it. Like, it's just literally just like, nah, man, this is just the shit I love. So like,
he's just a goofy dude.
He's just like playing around. Like I was saying, like, he's just got such this playful energy. He has had it through all of his career, but like this one is where he's really just like, guys, let's have some fucking fun.
Exactly.
Like, I'm ready. Let's do it. Like, even from just like the opening shots and the opening just imagery. Obviously, we talked about the kid dying at the beginning, but like, I wanted to bring this up at least for a little bit. The man's opening credit sequences since Spider-Man are like knocks out of the park every single time. Like,
they're really good.
Really good. Like, they're immediately like, they get you in, like, set the tone, everything. I love the Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 opening sequences. I love the whole like fire burning, like the like old Dante's Inferno look and feel of the opening credit sequence to this. Yeah. The Great and Powerful opening credits is also like pretty solid. Like,
it's great.
Yeah. Like, the man is just like, every time he's just like going to the mat with everything he's doing. Like he's just so into every detail of his movies. Like we were talking about, like the whole like "hang in there, baby" poster. Like, who else would have like thought to put that in there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you never lose, and it's like it seems goofy, but like at the end of the day, you never lose sight of the fact that it's like, oh, this is just some woman. Like she just works at a bank. Like she's just an everyday person. Yeah. Probably would have like a "hang in there, baby" poster or something. Like I don't know.
like literally, we haven't talked too much about her character, but like she's literally a woman trying to be that ideal of like normal suburban housewife with a job. Like the first thing we see her doing is she's trying to hide her accent and she's listening to speech tapes.
Yep.
Like it's a great introduction to her character. She's always trying to hide the fact that she was on a farm. She's like,
that's a really good point. I didn't even make that connection. That's awesome.
Yeah, I totally forget. She's driving down like practically a massive Atlanta highway.
And they were like round mouth, whatever, like doing the diction practice. Yeah, I remember that.
And like she's trying to like make the good impression to her boyfriend's parents and all that shit. She's once again trying to find the fact that like she was a farm girl. She raised and like it's just like I don't know. I like the fact that she's like not just running from the Lamia in this movie, like she's running from just like her past a little bit. It's not a huge part of the movie. There's that whole like there's like the theories out there that I don't believe. Like I think what happens in the movie happens in the movie. Like the text is a text.
Yeah.
Like there's the whole like thing where it's like it's about like she has an eating disorder and she's like like essentially kind of like imagining everything that's happening to her, but like because like there's the scene where she's like she doesn't eat ice cream or she's lactose intolerant, but she just breaks down and eats it. There's a scene in, I forget if it's in the theatrical, it might just be in the director's cut, but like she like passes by a bakery and she looks at like all the baked goods in there. She's like, oh, I can't have any of those. And like stuff like that.
I don't think I recall that in the theatrical.
Yeah.
Dillon?
It's just like.
I think it's a very small, very, very small moment.
Okay.
Because they tease at her being a fat girl.
Yeah, because she finds the picture in the cookbook and she balls it up and throws it away.
And even the Lamia, like that's the first thing he goes to. It's just like fatty, like all that kind of stuff.
When she goes to Ganusha's house, and when she obviously is dead, but she doesn't know that. I remember she's like, "You used to be like a real fat girl, didn't you?" And it's like, whoa, all right.
Yeah.
Another great scene because that's when she falls on her and it's like practically
the Nickelodeon slime.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's great. It's great. You know, there's so much to the face in this movie.
And you also just feel so bad for her in that scene too, because like she just shows up and she just happens to crash a funeral and literally drop the body and everything. Like the whole movie, she's just getting shit on. Yeah. And it's like, she's not a bad person. Like everyone around her is just so unreasonable.
She made a mistake.
Exactly.
One mistake.
And it's sad because like she was gonna give it off to Stu, you know.
Okay, Stu is the biggest bitch in cinematic history.
He
was so great. I love him.
Dude.
You're gonna tell my dad, are you?
Yeah, you're not gonna tell. Oh, I asked for no mayo. You never said that.
I love that scene.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so petty. Also, I just love whenever Raimi uses the same actors again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just seeing on like whenever like Ted shows up and you're just like, this is great.
Scott Spiegel's in it too.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no. I love Sam. He seems like he just genuinely loves the horror genre. I imagine very little horror movies probably actually disappoint the man.
Yeah.
Because he seems like the kind of guy who just loves the genre so much that almost any horror movie, he just like, it's a horror movie, so I love it all automatically.
Unfortunately, based on the movies he's been producing, I would have to agree with you.
Yeah.
Producer Sam Raimi, no, not good enough.
It's not normally. Most of the time when it comes to him, it's like normally his movies have like really like his produced movies will have like really interesting premises or something. Like, oh, did he just vomit this out and like gave it to some like
somebody ran with it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll give him a producer credit. Like, just,
yeah. And I feel like sometimes Sam gets stuck in like, oh, I'm living off of the royalties of all these producing gigs, you know.
fair enough. Yeah.
But I would literally sell my soul to have another Drag Me to Hell. Like
kill a
another
kitten?
Absolutely.
I would hell yeah, I'd kill a kitten. And I'm a cat dad. Like I love cats, okay? I would kill that poor little kitten. The kitten had it coming to get me some Sam Raimi directed content. Let me tell you, directed horror content.
Yeah.
Not no Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah.
We're gonna, bring it full circle here.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Sam Raimi direct the first episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead? The pilot?
Mm-hmm.
He did? Okay.
He did.
Okay. I thought he did.
He obviously did.
So he did direct that, but I mean, that's
and
obviously,
he also,
it's not a full-fledged horror movie. But.
And he directed the 2-part finale practically of the.
Yes. I forgot about that as well.
Yeah, he directed that as well.
I was pretty positive he at least did the pilot though, because I was like, he has directed, but it just hasn't been a full-fledged movie.
Talk about another great underrated Sam Raimi project. Like a lot of people really did like Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Dude, Ash vs. Evil Dead is perfect. We got 3 perfect seasons. It's fan service, but it never feels like it.
Exactly. And like, sure, I could have watched 4 or 5 seasons of it, and yeah, 2 or 3 things left open. Yeah. Ash is still once again running from the Deadites. He still hasn't finished them off. But I almost kind of don't want Ash to never be done with Deadites.
No. Yeah, exactly. That's what he does to us.
Yeah, like it's terrible to think that he'll never find closure in that. But like, I love knowing that like the world that the idiotic but lovable Ash Williams is out there protecting me from Deadites. That is his role for the rest of eternity.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, I mean, honestly. Isn't this like maybe one of the only Sam Raimi characters that actually does have closure in some way? Like Ash, obviously, he's always running from the Deadites. Spider-Man is always going to be like, I'm fucking Spider-Man. My life sucks, but I'm going to be Spider-Man. Like, even like...
You might be right, yeah.
Quick and the Dead, it's just like, well, I'm a Western hero. I'm going to go to my next town. It's going to be a whole new thing, and it's going to be great. Like... Even like Oz the Great and Powerful, it's just like, well, I got this whole wizard thing, and I'm gonna have to keep up this life for the rest of my life, so this is fun. Like, it's just like, and the only way to like end is just like in peril. Like, God, I love him. He's the best.
Even though we don't get closure in Ash vs. Evil Dead, like, I don't know, just the fact that he doesn't get that closure because he read from the Necronomicon trying to hook up with like a 20-something-year-old. That is perfect Ash. Like,
exactly. Look, if you look at every list of like the dumbest film protagonists, Ash Williams deserves to be on a list. Absolutely. And we don't mean that in a negative way.
Not at all.
We love our dumb, drunken grandpa, okay?
Exactly.
We want him to remain as that.
Exactly.
Listen, if your horror characters aren't a little dumb, movies never happen.
Yeah, like people want to shit on Alien because Ridley. No,
I dare.
Literally, yeah. I've heard people shit on Alien because they're like, it's just look. Every scientist in that movie is dumb. Every scientist in that movie is dumb. But without their
every scientist in Prometheus is dumb.
Technically, every scientist in Prometheus is dumb. Like, bitch, run fucking sideways. You wouldn't have died. Yeah. Like, damn, woman. Come on, Charlize Theron. I mean, I know you got to get a check, but girl, run to the right.
Like 2 inches. It's not even like...
Exactly. It's like with aliens, they like want to complain like, they never touched the egg or, never did this. I'm like, you are robbing yourself of the experience that horror has to bring.
Yeah. That's not to say that that's not even to say that there aren't like super intelligent horror characters, but with that subgenre of horror where you're looking at the campy, like experience the ride versus the whole versus a Midsummer kind of thing. Then it's like you have to go with the tropes for the kind of horror movie you're making.
Exactly.
It's just like, also, it's just that nitpicky CinemaSins bullshit of way of criticizing movies. It's just like, do you even like these things, man? Or do you just like exist to just kind of be like, well, here's what's wrong with this one. This. And it's just like, just ding. And it's just like, where's the fun in that? Like, where's any of the enjoyment?
I think there's a big difference between like being a critic of movies because you hold them to a certain standard versus just being a dick looking for attention.
Yeah.
Like
the whole alien thing, it's just like, listen, they don't know something's gonna come popping out of that egg. What, you expect him to know that shit? No.
They're on a routine mission.
Especially, and it's like, that's maybe the one dumb decision in that movie, which isn't the most. There's like, they're fucking rock miners. Like, they're like, what? They're not scientists.
Yeah,
like,
and don't expect me that just because you have the great ideas now, but let me tell you, that bitch named Xenomorph that comes running at you, you ain't gonna be thinking logically.
No, I think it's scary.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about Ash Williams, and is because he doesn't think. Well, his logic is his dick.
Exactly.
Like, and that's what's so great about him. And, and that's what's so great. Exactly. The man's greatest power and also his weakness is the dick he has that dangles.
Yep.
Honestly, the White Claws are speaking for me right now at this point. So
dude, I figured I'd join you. Like, this is the time. I'm ready.
I've moved on from mango to black cherry. So, I'm mixing flavors. Black cherry is the best, but I start with the mango. It's like a good
You're
pre-game before
eating your veggies before you get to your actual steak.
Yes, Pastor. Yes, that's right, Pastor. Yes.
Like, I had the problem. I got like a bunch of the like Truly lemonades in my fridge. I drank all of them except the mangoes, and now I'm like, all I have is mango.
Is it worth it?
I mean, at a certain point, it does get worth it, but like the whole time you're just like, I don't want to drink these. This isn't what I want.
These aren't the ones you want.
I want a black cherry or a strawberry. I don't want the mango. I'm sorry. I don't want the lemon. I want the strawberry or the black cherry. That's what everybody wants.
Yeah, we save those for last. We start with the lime, we start with the mangoes, and then we work our way up to the granddaddies, the black cherries.
For sure. But, do you eat your ice cream first? You can't do that.
No.
You can't do it.
Your palate's ruined.
Absolutely it is. So I guess we haven't really talked about the scene where she actually does give off the button to Ganush at the end, which is another great set piece. Like, once again, just like, great. What have we not drowned Alison Lohman in yet? Oh, mud. Let's drown her in mud. Like,
and that's a fantastic scene. Like, so I read that they actually shot that scene. That was the last scene that they shot. Like, everything else was done, and that was like the last scene that they shot, which is crazy. Like,
that's crazy because I can imagine like
I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi just, hey, come back to set real quick. What are we gonna do? I'll just drown you.
Exactly. Like, I have just been dragged through so much shit, and you're literally saving the worst possible thing for last.
I think that's why you got to do it last, though. It's the last test.
You can't kill him in the first scene. Like, you can't shoot that first.
and maybe that's why that scene's so great, because you really feel
she's fed up.
She is fed up. She is done with this bitch named Lamiak, and also this dead bitch too, who won't take the damn fucking coin.
Exactly.
And it's just like, I had something. Now it's gone. But like, it's I don't know, it's just great. I mean, we've sung this movie's praises all night long.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. Sung Raimi's praises all night long.
I mean, yeah. For me, when we decided that we were going to do this, I was like, we're practically talking about one of the pinnacle horror films of the 2000s for me. Like,
oh, no, I agree.
It's like Paranormal Activity, this, and then The Ring, baby. Like, that's
The Descent?
Oh, and Descent is probably like
Descent's got
4 or 5. Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 on my list. I did a list like maybe 2 years ago, the my top 10 favorite horror films of the 2010s. It took me like 3 weeks because
I can imagine.
Yeah, you know,
that'd be a grueling list for me. I would have to make some hard decisions.
like I made a list. My top 10 list of the top 2010s was grueling because you know, it was just all, you know, I love my pretentious horror films. So
horror's good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2010s was a hell of a year, and
Sure
like people want to shit on the 2000s, but the 2000s slapped. There was some shit.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but there was the brutality of the 2000s is and I will get on my soapbox for a moment. In my humble opinion, is a direct answer to how we were internalizing 9/11, because we had never seen these here comes the war on terror. We had never seen these images, these brutalities of us as Americans torturing people. And what did we do? We turned that into art. We made Saw, we made Hostel, we made Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We made all these movies that brutalized people in the most horrific ways that we'd never seen possible, and stylized it. And you know,
absolutely.
And I feel like that just shows just how we come to desensitize ourselves to reality, you know? And here's Sam Raimi's like, yo, let me come in and make it let's have a little bit of fun with it, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, just to further your point, Dylan, post 9/11 America, the whole onslaught of remakes we had in the 2000s, like not only changing the way that we made movies currently, but going back and recontextualizing all these classics in a post 9/11 America. Like, no, I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally
people want to shit on the early 2000s, but like the early 2000s had its staple, it had its impact, just like the 90s did. Without the 90s, we wouldn't have main A-list actors doing horror movies today.
Absolutely not.
So people want to shit on 90s horror movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend. Look, those had A-list actors, and because of Scream. So like because of that, we now have like people like A Quiet Place and stuff like that, you know, where like main actors are taking, it's not just a gateway, because back in the 80s, while I love the 80s, every main horror film in the 80s was a gateway for an actor.
Absolutely.
Like, the best way to start,
Friday the 13th.
Exactly.
Like,
the best.
Johnny Depp.
The best way to start in acting is to start in the horror genre, because you'll get those genre enthusiasts and they'll elevate your career if you do a good job, you know, and that's what happened. But what ended up happening in the 90s is then A-list actors got involved, and then they were like, oh wow, this elevates the art a little bit, you know, because we have Drew Barrymore in a slasher film.
Killed in the opening scene too.
Killed in the opening
Crazy.
scene.
Brutally killed in the opening scene.
That's why
intestines hanging. Like
the girl from E.T. just brutally murdered in the first 10, 15 minutes.
In the first 10. Yeah, exactly. Like that's bonkers. You don't see Drew Barrymore and think that you're not going to get the whole movie out of her.
Yeah.
Like
isn't she like pretty much top billed in that movie, or does she get like the Andrew Barrymore at the end or like something like that? I feel like the way that movie is billed is like it's all leading you to assume like Drew Barrymore is going to be the lead of this movie.
The final girl. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
But sure enough, she isn't.
On the poster, everything. I was going to bring up the fact that, like, I think you guys would be proud of me. I watched the Slumber Party Massacre for the first time, like, a week or two ago. And that movie fucking rules. It's great. I was like, I know it's a movie that people, like, talk about. Like, it's really good, but I was truly not expecting, like, how great of a movie that really is.
It's like 75 minutes, too.
Yeah. It's a short one.
Super short.
Yeah.
And, like, what it does with that time, like, it's so fucking, like, it's so well built, like structurally so sound. It does some like awesome dope ass Hitchcock shit throughout all of it. Like, man, the scene where that girl is like just coming out of the fridge and she keeps opening and closing it, like that shit's dope. But like,
and also completely women written and directed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to bring up. Like, when you hear the title Slumber Party Massacre, I'm not going to lie. You think you're about to go in for some 80s slasher, campy, ridiculous movie.
Yep.
But the first one, now we're speaking of the first one here, it's actually done with class. Like it's like
it's a smartly made movie.
Done. It's a smartly made movie.
There's still titties, but there's smart titties.
Yeah, there's still titties. You get like you get your naked women, but it kind of flips the script. Like a lot of men roles are now female roles, and a lot of female roles are now men roles. Like there's like a there's a female gym teacher in the movie, and like I really love like what they did with that movie. It's like so freaking fantastic, and like the kills are great. The drill like weapon is practically it's horrifying, but it's practically like a metaphor. And you know I love my pretentious horror.
Yeah, absolutely.
For like a male dick. So like I love that. I love that. And I love that these women never really turn on themselves, like kind of like a unit and whatnot.
It's
and
good.
Like,
the most is when
good. It's so good.
The most that happens when the girl starts eating the pizza. They're like, "You're eating the pizza, really? You're gonna eat the pizza?" Yeah. But like I was gonna say, just like I was like immediately looking up everyone in that movie after I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So like these girls are like in a bunch of horror movies and stuff like that. I need to check these out, and they're like, it's still just like, not really. Like they had that movie, they did a couple more things, and then that's basically it. It's just like. You know, these movies like just don't. These older movies like just don't have a ton of star power in them, and like, I love that this movie is like. Also, kind of like the biggest star in this movie is like Justin Long, and like,
and he's just like a Kevin Smith kind of like,
and like Alison Lohman is like. Kind of big, maybe at the time, but not huge. Like I feel like the only other movie I know her from is like Matchstick Men. Or something like that. But like mostly this movie is just like a bunch of character actors that Sam Raimi likes and like
which is awesome.
Props to him. I mean he does the same shit in like Spider-Man and everything too. Like
Bruce Campbell is in all 3 Spider-Man movies.
Oh yeah, for
This is also Drag Me to Hell's I believe the only one without a Bruce Campbell cameo because he was busy with Burn Notice at the time.
Probably.
Yeah.
He's not here. He is in Oz the Great and Powerful, I can confirm. He's got the whole fucking like Oz like guard suit on and everything, all the makeup, and it's just like, love it.
The fact that I met that man, like,
you did?
Oh I got pictures. No, I don't have pictures actually. He wasn't doing pictures, but I've got a signed copy of one of his books.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't have pictures like with him. But I was there because he was at Fantastic Fest, which that's like that's my favorite place in the whole wide world.
That's awesome.
He was at Fantastic Fest, and I went for the season 2 premiere opening. That was like on the like marquee of things to play, and there was an awesome interview with him and Elijah Wood. So So I was in the same room, so I was like, I am standing. And that same day was the same day we had our secret screening. So that same day, not only was I in the same building with Elijah Wood, who I have actually met and talked to multiple times, coolest fucking dude on the fucking planet.
I believe
love what he's heard great things.
The dude was like, I peaked with Lord of the Rings. I'm gonna make B-movie horror films, and I have never loved. And the man. Like, he won't admit to it probably if you asked him, but he shit talked downsizing after we all watched it at Fantastic Fest. He started off like, I didn't like it, like I appreciated the effort, and then it gradually built to him practically shit talking the movie. It was fantastic. I was like sitting in the seat right in front of him on the bus, which was also great. Like. Elijah Wood is like, I'm going to ride the free bus. I'm not going to drive myself.
Yes.
I've been drinking. So, like, Elijah Wood fucking rules. Like, I want to be fucking Elijah Wood. That's what I'm trying to say here.
I love how he's just become like,
Also, the White Claws are definitely speaking for me right now at this point.
That's fine. Let's do it. But I was just going to say, I love how that man's basically just become like a mascot for Austin, Texas.
Exactly. And he was being interviewed at the same time Bruce Campbell was being interviewed. At the same time, we were trying to figure out what the secret screening was going to be, which ended up being which ended up being split, which means at the same time we also had M. Night Shyamalan, James McAvoy, in the fucking building. And still to this day, Brandon's the major Marvel guy. Me and Maddux, we're not.
Yeah.
We see a purple dude in a suit. We're like, who the fuck is this bitch? We don't know. We don't know. But when I watched Split in theaters, I was like, this is the first time I felt like the tables had turned. And I'm like, I know who this purple bitch is.
Yeah.
So
Dillon's like very, very drunken and loose interpretation of Marvel movies.
I mean, isn't that exactly what they are, though? Like, honestly, like, listen, I love them. I'm there for them. Like, Endgame was one of my favorite movies of 2019. Like, I'm all there for that shit.
Oh, we know.
Fucking.
Trust me, we follow you on Twitter. We know.
Oh yeah, 100%. And if Sam Raimi brings Tobey Maguire back into the fold, I'm gonna lose my mind. It's gonna be one of the happiest moments of my life.
Yeah.
But
I'm not gonna act like I won't love it.
I'm to bring this full circle. I'm gonna love it, but I'd be like, I still.
You could have made a horror movie this whole time.
You could have made that Castaway horror movie.
Yeah, 100%. But it's just like, at the end of the day, it's just like a lot of just like, oh my God, he's in here too now. This is like, that's another star for the movie. This is great. Like, I agree. But yeah. Okay. Anything else? Is there anything else we haven't covered? I feel like we've done pretty much all of it. I think we hit a lot of good shit.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot about horror, a lot about Raimi, a lot about Drag Me to Hell, which, once again, I know it's not a movie that, like, outside of the horror circles isn't brought up a whole lot, but, like, definitely something you should all be watching during spooky season.
Oh, yeah. Check out Drag Me to Hell. Unrated or director's cut, or unrated or theatrical, either way.
Literally, it's like people, because it's a common question that people get, like, which version should I watch?
Yeah.
To be honest, either version works. Either version works. It's like you're not really losing or gaining anything out of them.
Mm-hmm. It's just the director's cut is just slightly R.
Yeah, it's slightly R, but there's also just the whole like PG-13 charm of watching the theatrical cut. So to be honest, whatever floats your boat, check it out. Just honestly, just watch the movie. If you haven't seen Drag Me to Hell, or if you're new to the horror genre, like definitely get into the Raimi camp. Like, you'll have a blast. And like, and what I love about this movie is, to wrap up my final thoughts with it, is like, to me, this was one of the pinnacle movies of the early 2000s. And what I love about it is like, Sam Raimi, and like, this came out in 2009. So we were getting ready to enter true pretentious horror where, all of us millennials had suppressed the
A24 era.
The A24 era of like where we suppressed all of our daddy issues, and we were going to turn that into horror movies for later.
Yep.
Conjuring Blumhouse, like on the rise, like about to come in. Exactly. And
because Blumhouse did Paranormal Activity, right?
Exactly. Yes, that was their big breakout.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So for me, I just wanted to say, like, I love that 2000 for particularly Raimi is just like every time I watch this movie, I just feel the love of everything that is horror. Like, this just feels so pure. Like, yes, it's mean spirited in the way it treats its characters, but it feels like it just gets to the roots of the pureness and the joy of what it means to watch a horror movie.
Exactly.
And that's what makes it, yes, it's scary, it's terrifying, it's fun, but it just gets to the pure definition of what it means to be a horror fan, and just have the enjoyment without having been super meta and get into all the gist of it all.
And I mean, as horror fans, like, just in general, it's so easy to tell if you're watching a horror movie that is made for a quick buck, or if you're watching a horror movie from someone that you can tell spent their childhood curled up with a blanket watching Halloween, like too scared to look through the blankets. Like, you can tell. It's so obvious. And Sam Raimi 100% grew up watching those monster movies on loop.
Yeah,
100% he did.
I definitely can speak it, for me and Maddux, and I think for when it comes to like the superhero genre for Brendan, that we would not be like film enthusiast without the works of Sam Raimi.
Absolutely.
Oh no,
100%.
absolutely not.
Yeah,
My dad showing me Army of Darkness is one of like the most influential experiences.
Exactly. I remember checking out Evil Dead and thinking like, what is this experiment? Like what is this experimental film? I love it. You know, like,
and it's like almost like straightly played as Evil Dead is. There's still moments that are kind of goofy.
Like those actors in Evil Dead 1, man. Like, listen, they're not the best, but like you're right. Like the goofiness of those guys, just in particular, like really brings it. But like, I completely agree with you. I mean, to this day, I mark me seeing Spider-Man when I was like 5 years old as like the moment that it all kicked off.
That's awesome.
Like begging my dad, because I lived in a very sheltered household where it's like, you can't see PG-13 movies, and like all that stuff. Like I remember begging my dad to go take me to see Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And like the fact that like was just, it's the best. Like those two movies are still the best for me. Spider-Man 2, Fight Me, still the best superhero movie ever made, no question.
I'm with you, Brendan. Virtual fist.
Yeah. Spider-Man 2, best superhero movie ever seen. And I'm not even a massive superhero fan, but Spider-Man 2, best superhero movie. I mean, Evil Dead 2 will always be like best Raimi predictor. Like there's nothing. Like I remember. Just take me back to the time when I watched that for the first time. Like, cinematic bliss.
Yeah, and it's also this thing too, which we didn't touch on too much, but like you talk about it being a little mean-spirited, and it is. But like I also feel like this man is so goddamn sincere. Like I feel like that's why we feel that like love of horror movies coming from him, because like
exactly,
I think that's what makes those Spider-Man movies work so much, is because he's so sincere, and his sincerity oozes from every frame of that movie.
Exactly,
and it shows him like the way. Once again, he punishes Christine so goddamn much, but like you still feel like he's just like, but she's just like this girl, like she's super sweet and everything. She doesn't deserve all of this. Like there's a love for all of his characters, and the work he does. Like he's just, like I said, like I said at the beginning, like he's just a kid at play. Like every time he comes back, he's just like, guys, look at this. I love this so much. You see what I'm doing? Isn't this great? This is the best. I can't believe I get to have this job. Like
you get the vibe of like running up to the parent with a crayon picture, like, look what I did.
Yeah. And like I'm sure some parents are just like, yeah, Sam, that's great.
The masses are like, yeah, that kind of sucks. But then you get it to us, and we're just like, yeah, fuck yeah, keep doing it.
Let's go.
I want to chime in because we talk about the sweetness of Sam Raimi. Like I have noticed that 90% of all horror filmmakers that I have met in real life have been the sweetest, genuine human beings in the entire planet. Like particularly while I haven't physically met Sam Raimi, he probably won't remember the 5-minute phone call we had back in 2013 for Evil Dead, but I remember it daily. Like I remember it,
of course.
I would have like a log of that saved to read every day.
So my 15 minutes of fame was I posted an Evil Dead trailer reaction video, which to me still to this day, I think the Evil Dead remake trailer is the best trailer to
fantastic.
Any movie in the 2010s.
That trailer scared the shit out of me.
Exactly.
Just the trailer.
Exactly. Because it didn't matter whether or not you liked that trailer or not. You were bound to have a reaction, which is exactly what a trailer is supposed to do. So to me, that's why the Evil Dead remake trailer is the best trailer I've seen in the entire 2010s. And when I did a trailer reaction video, it freaked the hell out of me. And I was like, I'm so fucking excited for this. And that was like my 15 minutes of fame. So what ended up happening? Well, of course, Sony Pictures saw it. And they were like, well, we would love to use this for marketing. And then next thing you know, I'm sitting down to watch Walking Dead back when it was slightly interesting. And seeing my face appear as part of like millions are reacting type of trailer. And I'm seeing my face flash in the TV spot for the Evil Dead remake.
That's gotta feel good.
It felt fucking great, And as someone who's a Leo and super ego-centered, I was like, you are feeding me the best course meal I will ever have in my life.
Neo Gang Unite, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. And I remember having a small conversation with Sam Raimi over the phone, practically just talking about, like, we've been playing trailer reactions through the loop of, Sony pictures, just to motivate us type of ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
And we love yours. And I was just like, fuck us. So I find it interesting that people like Sam Raimi and like Ari Aster, who is another director I've had the opportunity of meeting, they are genuinely the nicest people because they use the horror platform as a way to let out whatever issues or internal demons that they have.
It's all externalizing. That's all it is.
Exactly. So when you meet them, they ain't got no shit because you just watch their shit on screen.
I remember after Midsummer first came out, he did an AMA and Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and I was scrolling through it, and I remember the top comment being, "You okay, bud?" and he just simply replied, "Nah."
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And it's surprising, even though he responded, nah, he is, I like to think he's actually doing better than most people because what he's doing is he's taking his pain and he's internalizing it and at least giving it a demon for other people to view, which is why I like pretentious horror.
Oh, yeah. No, me too.
And that's what Sam Raimi's do, but he's doing it in a way that just honors the genre and
in
makes
his own goofy way.
In his own goofy way, that's also fun and it's scary. And Sam Raimi is like a genre in itself with its fast camera movements and its silly, playful, ajar type of camera placements and stuff like that. Like I love this movie. I loved it in 2009, and I keep loving it even more with every passing year. It just constantly grows. It's
fantastic.
Also, since you did bring up the 2013 Evil Dead remake, just real quick, want to say that movie is so scary and so perfect, and so it's a remake of one of my favorite movies of all time, and I was so scared going to watch it, and I was just blown away.
Yeah,
like Fede Alvarez's vision for that is just so obvious and purposeful with everything that he does.
I'm exactly with you. Like
it's
I was
so gory.
I was ecstatic after that trailer, but I can't deny the fact that within inside of me lies a little bit of fear. You're remaking one of the greatest movies ever made, but it felt like, while watching that movie, this is the movie that Sam Raimi kind of envisioned to make back in the day if he just had the money to make it.
And if he could stick straight enough to play it straight enough to get something like that.
Exactly. But, there's a little bit, and the reason why Sam Raimi dipped into comedies because people, while they were scared of Evil Dead, they also kind of poked fun and laughed at the comedic bits of it that were unintentional, but gave the film its, heart.
Its charm, definitely.
Exactly. And so watching Evil Dead, you feel like it's honoring that while also honoring the original vision that Sam Raimi had. And I honestly consider like the Evil Dead remake is in my top 10 favorite horror remakes of all time. It is just...
It might be my favorite. It may be my favorite.
It was... I would have to generally sit down and actually do the homework on that.
Me too.
But I could see very well being in the same boat with that because I just think that it's crazy how that franchise has gone through so many different incarnations and different directions.
I'm really excited to see where Evil Dead Rise goes.
I know we're gonna be in a high rise. For this one. And people were like, well, that sounds weird. Keep in mind, do you not remember Army of Darkness or Evil Dead 2?
Exactly.
We went to some batshit insane areas.
That's right.
You're telling me if an Evil Dead movie, if Army of Darkness came out today and they were like, all right, so he's going back to medieval times, they'd be like, fuck off. But look at that movie.
It's been done. Yeah.
Exactly. And they have, and even with the television series, like Sam Raimi knows that the Evil Dead franchise is his, like, at the end of the day, his heart. That's where everything originated at. He's not going to sour the soil with that. You know, he's gonna make sure that, like, while yes, it's not being directed by Fed Alvarez, you know, because he's busy and stuff, you know, but
don't breathe too.
And it's not, and he's not, and Jane Levy is clearly has no interest in coming back. Loves, and like clearly she did Don't Breathe, so clearly she has no vendetta against Fed Alvarez. You know, she's just I get it.
Yeah.
The horror genre,
absolutely.
I get it. The horror genre, like people love it, but like it wears you out.
Yeah. And like Evil Dead and Don't Breathe are two movies that are gonna wear you the fuck out.
Oh
like,
yeah. Look at Alison Lohman from Drag Me to Hell. She probably likes the horror genre, but she hasn't done a horror movie.
She hasn't done movies in a while, man.
Exactly.
I think she's done pretty much. I think she's like maybe retired. Like I think she had like a couple kids and just wanted to raise a family. Like it's just like I did my thing. I don't think I ever need to do this again.
I got drugged to hell. What more can I do?
For sure. It's like, what's a better exit? Just me literally like my fucking face melting off and just my skull. Yeah, for sure. I do want to talk about for just like a little bit because I don't think I would ever do an episode on it because I don't think I could get the traction. But like, and I think this is you two are the only people I could talk to about it a little bit. Like, Oz the Great and Powerful is like a really nice look into like what's going on in Sam Raimi's head these days.
Exactly. It really is.
Like, especially after watching it again, like, obviously, like, I knew who Sam Raimi was. I knew kind of what his movies looked like because I watched Spider-Man since I was 5 years old. Yeah. But, like, after I've, like, done the research, watched a lot more of his movies, like, that movie is actually, like, it kind of honks a little bit. Like, it's, like, a lot of fun. Like, you got the Sam Raimi shit. But, like, it's also just, like, I feel like, obviously, like I said, I feel like Sam Raimi's a big presence in Drag Me to Hell. But, like, I feel like Oz is, like, maybe the only character that Sam Raimi is like, this is me. This is me as a character. Because, like, it's just, like, it's all about him just, like, being, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm faking everyone out all the time. Like, I feel like everyone has these great expectations for me, and I just kind of want to do my thing. But, like, since I'm, like, Sam the Man Raimi, or, like, I'm Oz the Great and Powerful, it's, like, I don't know what to do for these guys except, like, what I know how to do, which is, like, trick them and play around with them and, like, do that kind of stuff. So, like, I don't know. If you're interested in Raimi, I think that's, like, a fun, like, that's the last movie he made to, like, just kind of, like...
Oh, yeah.
And, like, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Doctor Strange. Like, I hope that he has, like, the cachet to do what the fuck he wants with that movie, to really just make it, like, yeah, I'm just going to make a horror movie again, but it's, like, with a superhero now. Like, I'd love if he, like, just goes, like, bug nuts acid trip with it, like he should.
That'd be super awesome. I just remember them, like, immediately backtracking after they announced the Doctor Strange. They were like, yeah, it's going to be a straight-up horror movie. And I was like, okay. Like, all right. Sam Raimi director seat, straight-up horror Marvel movie. I was like, okay, like, let's see what you got. And then, like, I remember a few days to a week after it said they backtracked and said, well, it'll have, like, horror sequences. And I was like, oh, nope, done. Nope.
Okay, right.
Cool. I can't believe I ever gave Marvel the light of day where I actually was like, oh, wow, great. You know, and I think that's kind of why, like, I still, in me, want, like, 3 more horror films out of Sam Raimi.
Oh, yeah,
you know, it's like, I want 3 more. Like, I want another, like, Drag Me to Hell kind of, like, campy, terrifying horror.
It can even be PG-13. Just do your thing. Just do your thing.
Like, I need my Sam Raimi late period. Like, I feel like it's literally been, like, almost a decade. Like,
yeah, you're right.
I need another movie. No. Like, I feel like that's the biggest break he's had in between movies. And, like, I'm having a rough time with it.
I can't think of a bigger one.
No.
It's actually, it's been a decade. Drag Me to Hell came out in May of 2009. So it's been over 10 years.
Well, since he did a horror movie, but Oz Great and Powerful was 2013, right?
Yeah, 7 years.
Okay.
But, like, it's nuts.
So, it's insane. And I love the man. I literally...
We all do,
Yeah, we love...
Let's just teach a class on Raimi, boys.
If there's one thing you can take away from this podcast, we like, kneel at the altar of Sam Raimi. We're all... like, obviously, he's a very foundational guy for all of us. Big fan. I'd watch like even like a movie like Simple Plan, which you forget is a Sam Raimi movie because it's like the last thing you would expect Sam Raimi to make. It's
exactly.
It's awesome. It's awesome, and I'm still pissed there's not a Blu-ray of it anywhere.
They all have his little fingerprints on them.
Like I've seen all of them except like two. Like I haven't seen Darkman yet. I haven't seen The Gift. Those are the two.
Okay, you definitely need
Darkman's awesome.
Darkman is awesome. You'll love Darkman.
You will love Darkman.
Yeah, you'll definitely love Darkman. I love The Gift. It's actually Sam Raimi at its most constrained. It's like him actually. It's him trying to be the most like artistic style of Sam Raimi, Kate Blanchett is, playing a medium and stuff like that. Like it plays more cinematically. It's more, if you're trying to get into Sam Raimi, it's a good entryway type of movie.
Oh yeah.
But what did he do? Like he did a comedy once, and I wonder what it is.
I know he did a baseball movie. Like that's another thing. It's like he did For Love of the Game. Like the man's career is insane. It really is.
If I have even a shred of the creative freedom that Sam Raimi does, like I will consider myself very successful.
Absolutely. Well, it's just like, here's the thing. You make Spider-Man, you get to do whatever the fuck you want for the rest of your life.
That is very true.
Like you get to do whatever you want.
Yeah, like you cannot take away the financial gain that he had when he made Spider-Man. Like he was literally the James Cameron at that time. Like he was making so much money off these Spider-Man movies that like it didn't matter. He's like Christopher Nolan now. Christopher Nolan can make whatever he wants. He made The Dark Knight and Inception.
Yeah.
So and those movies banked at the box office. So it's like that's why Robert Zemeckis, even though he's turning out shit these days, he keeps making movies because he made Back to the fucking Future.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally like, I know I go on a little bit about this, but like my favorite podcast is Blank Check Podcast. It's one of my favorites. Like movies, like literally they're covering these guys like Cameron, Zemeckis, Nolan. It's all about just like they make these one or two movies and they are set for life. They can do whatever the fuck they want, and they're literally doing Zemeckis right now. Like it's crazy.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Like they just did like Back to the Future, Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. Like it's just like it's insane.
Roger Rabbit, 10 out of 10 movie.
Oh, incredible!
So
perfect.
Good.
Those are his two perfect movies, Back to the Future and Roger Rabbit. Phenomenal. But yeah, so I think that's about everything, guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love getting drunk and talking about Sam Raimi. So anytime you want to do that, whether it's on or off camera, like
for sure. Me up. Absolutely. Can't wait to have you guys on again. Hopefully with Mathew. It's been an absolute blast. Anything you guys want to plug? I know Dillon, you definitely got a whole bunch of stuff going on these days.
Yeah. So if you want to see me sober, you can check me out at Right, who wants that? Yeah. Well, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Slasher Movie Reviews. I've been doing it for 10 years. I talk about horror films over there. I also read a lot of books. So a lot of times I'll talk about book to movie adaptations. I cover a lot of film festivals, all that stuff. I'm on every major platform. I'm on Twitter. I'm talking about movies constantly. It's what runs in my brain. I'm even on the TikTok, y'all. Like I'm on every platform and I'm always talking about horror movies. So like come check me out whenever you want to. And yeah, like I've got always crazy projects going on. Like crazy projects. I've got projects that was supposed to come out in 2020, but we know what happened with that year that I'm still sitting on secrets with. If you want to be part of the reveal of that, follow me on, Twitter, which is /reviews. Follow me on YouTube. I've been doing this for over 10 years, just talking about movies, making it somewhat a living out of it. But yeah. Check me out. I do drink a lot, so if you love to drink, call me up. I'm your buddy. I'm basic. I'm a basic bitch. I love my White Claws, but I ain't gonna deny it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my basic ass Coors Light right here, so like, let's do it. Make
Yeah.
sure to drop, or I will make sure to drop all those links to all of Dillon's pages down in the description below. Yeah, make sure to follow him and everything. Maddux, where can people find you? What you got going on these days?
I am on just about everything as well. I can't claim that my social media presence is anywhere near as entertaining or drunken as Dillon's. I won't even try to make that claim. But if you would like to follow me on Twitter, I tweet a lot about music, movies, particularly horror, politics, things that I love and things that I maybe don't love so much.
Fair.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. And once again, we'll drop all that stuff for Maddux's, all the links and all that stuff right there. So, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys had a good time listening to us go on and on about Sam Raimi and Drag Me to Hell. I certainly had a good time. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment below. Let us know what you thought of Drag Me to Hell if you've seen it. How do you rank it among Sam Raimi's movies? How do you feel? Are you Evil Dead or Spider-Man? Like, what's going on there? Talk about Sam Raimi as much as you want in the comments. I'll be sure to respond and everything like that because I'll talk about Sam Raimi all day long. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week.